New quest, the Gilded Vale. Journey to Gilded Vale. Caravan Master Odema. The Caravan Master finishes addressing the group, his bushy red mustache and sagging jowls quivering as if for emphasis.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you are planning a stroll through those ruins up there.
He nods toward a looming black mass on the hillside.
Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who would be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood?
At last the Caravan Master turns to you, frowning as he looks you over.
Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards. Unless you don't drink water, course. Which case you'll be dead in a day. There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry, about the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
Odema looks over his shoulder at his assistant, a lanky, intense man named Sparfel, who carries an old sun-bleached bow. He nods in your direction. I think it means Odema. Odema nods in your direction. Sparfel nods and slides the worn bow over his shoulder. Nasu says, "Where would I find these berries?"
They grow on a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
Nasu says, "What are those ruins?"
Nothing you won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay, if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build them, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch them like a mother bear.
From the character creation, the description of Air Glonfoth is an area where it is ruled by 6 tribes. There often comes into conflict with the people of Deerwood, or something like that.
Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear.
Odema adds with a wink. Your character's attributes, skills, class, race, culture, and sex may all open up notions for you in dialogue. These options are not necessarily superior to the other responses, but give you a wider variety of choices to select from. The manner in which someone responds to your choices depends on their individual personality and attitude. Nasu says, "Who did build the ruins?"
Got different names for them. Settlers called them Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much.
Odema shrugs. So Odema implies these Angwithans do not like the ruins enough to not allow them be ruins. Nasu says, "Is it dangerous out here?"
Not if you hurry about your business, and not if the weather holds up.
There is concern in Odema's tone, but Odema does not elaborate. Nasu says, "What kind of weather do they get out here?"
This time of year, rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a beowick, born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never care to.
A wind called Beowick. Nasu speaks. What are these huge rocks coming up out of the ground?
They don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories.
Orima frowns. The huge rocks coming out of the ground is called Adra.
It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days.
Dies if it gets dug up.
The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
Soul butchers in Defiance Bay. Adra can hold a man's soul. Nasu speaks. I'll go see about those berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep.
Orima scans over the travelers, resting his eyes at length on a sturdy, armor-clad woman who has spent the journey's night sleeping on uneven ground without blanket or pillow.
Kalisha. Kalisha!
The woman looks up on her own time. Orima speaks. She needs to find some spring berries. Watch that she doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Kalisha implies that Orima is broke, so he can only afford her as a guide. That means Kalisha is a cheap guide.
Don't listen to her, you're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything.
Orima chuckles and shakes his head. Orima looks at you. Orima casts a sidelong glance at her. Her, meaning Kalisha.
Off with you. Theoden should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beawick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
Orima's small grin recedes beneath his mustache, and he is stern once more.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
Okay, so I was playing around with the game earlier, testing out the customized controls, the key bindings. So I guess the game retains its zoom level from my earlier playing around. Okay, so I've accustomed to this UI. Welcome to Pillars of Eternity. I shouldn't have read this, because when I was playing around I already read this, but let's read it, why not? Welcome to Pillars of Eternity. If this is your first visit to the world of Eora, you may want to watch these windows to become familiar with the tools and interface available to you. Your party always consists of your character and up to 5 additional companions or adventurers. While the caravan is camped outside the Glanfathan ruins, Orima has assigned Kalisha to help you. Kalisha is a fighter, a class that excels at close quarters defense. Use her abilities to complement your own. Up to 5 additional companions. To select a party member, click on their selection circle, their portrait, or press the number button that corresponds to their position in the party, starting with 1 at the left. To select multiple party members, click and hold anywhere on the screen and drag the marquee over the circle so the party members you'd like to include. I already set a key binding to select all party members. To move selected characters, click anywhere on the screen where your cursor is a circle of 4 wedges. All selected characters will path to their corresponding position in the formation. This one. If you see a red circle with a slash through it, you cannot walk on that part of the map. When multiple party members are selected, the action bar is hidden. To see individual characters' options, select only that character. Okay, so yeah, I'm able to resize the windows. Oh, okay, I didn't know it goes this far. Okay, let's keep it like this. Okay, now I'm going to set up my character. I'll be cutting the video here and jump to when after I finish setting up my characters. Okay, what should I do now? Why am I losing my train of thought? Okay, see you. Okay, so here we are. I've set up my character. Yeah. What is the button that I've set to toggle interactables? It's okay. Okay, let's start. These tall glass green pillars appear as if they have sprouted from the earth. The flickering fire sets shadow dancing within.
I've got it.
Mechanics 0, 1, 2, lockpick 3, 1, 0. So it's one of my skills. If my mechanics is 0, I requires 3 lockpicks, etc. Let's talk to the people around here. Let's start with maybe Odema.
Go on then, before it gets too dark. Go on then, before it gets too dark.
Most people you encounter in the world are neutral or friendly. You can interact with them by clicking on their selection circle. Many characters will simply greet you and go on their way, but others will have larger conversations to explore. The merchant Heodan is a conversation that opens a store with equipment for sale. Don't mind Odema. This is as good a place to camp as any, caravan guard. It's best not to wander alone, especially so near the ruins. Why is that? I suppose you wouldn't know much about Glanfathans. They are mighty protective of places like this. So that is why. You really don't look so good. Odema was right to stop. Yeah, the intro mentions that she got ill. I guess these two have the same set of dialogues. Caravaneer. I suppose you wouldn't know much about Glanfathans. They're mighty protective of places like this. Caravaneer. Caravan life doesn't agree with you, does it? You look as raw as that merchant Heodan. All kinds of beasts in these woods, and then you have the tribes. You mean the tribes of what? The tribes of Eir Glanfath? I've traveled with Odema before, he's never led us astray. I see more and more people on the roads these days looking for safety in towns and cities, it seems. Why are people looking for safety in towns and cities? What is happening? Their wooden clothing. Okay, let me check What is Kalicia's wearing? Okay, she wears a medium armor, battle axe, and torch. Okay, the next time I see a medium armor and battle axe, I'll see if she needs it. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. AI behavior. I've read this before when I was playing around. I think I want it to be aggressive and okay, hold ground. Is this medium armor? Is light armor. Though most deer woodens originated in the Idear Empire, deer wooden clothing has changed a great deal since the initial waves of colonization. Deer woodens favor tough garments often made from wool and deer skin, due to the changing weather of the Eastern Reach. Vests and other layers are common in deer wooden daily outfits. Lockpick. These slender steel tools can be used to assist in opening a variety of locks. If lock is slightly outside the range of picker's expertise, some lockpicks may be sacrificed in the process of opening it. A fellow Aumaua. Coastal or island? I presume coastal, because of the skin. I think that the description says that coastal have blue and green, and the island are brown and yellow, something like that. All kinds of beasts in these woods, and then you have the tribes. I've traveled with Odema, okay.
Anyone need supplies? I've got sundries for sale.
Potion of Mana Regeneration. These blue-green liquids are attributed with powers of recuperation, restoring energy and liveliness to the weary of Ormoros over a period of time. Okay, so this is a restorative item. Endurance represents a character's short-term survivability. Damage that is not absorbed by a character's damage reduction goes straight to their endurance and health. Potions and healing magic, such as from a paladin, priest or druid, can restore endurance in combat. When a character's endurance reaches 0, he or she will be knocked out. A knocked out character can be brought back in combat through the use of a revivability. Otherwise, characters will regain all of their endurance at the end of combat, assuming they are on the winning side. Copper Pan. This is a high-volume deer wooden currency used in everyday trade, and is the basis for most transactions. Heodan. You see a man wearing a simple but mostly neat clothes. He's transfixed, however, by a ragged tear in the seam of his tunic.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road.
Heodan shakes his head and laughs when he notices you. He scratches one cheek with his knuckles. It's covered with uneven stubble, as if he hasn't quite gotten used to shaving on the road.
Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Nasu speaks. Who are you?
I'm a trader, originally from the Idear Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. but we're here to make the most of things, right?
Heodan looks at his wagon and grins ruefully. Okay, so I'm a paladin of a Goldpack Knight. The favored disposition is either rational or stoic, and disfavored dispositions is passionate and aggressive, I think. But clever and cruel are not favored nor disfavored. Nasus speaks. If you think these caravaneers are prickly, watch out for those axe wielders Odema mentioned. Heodan laughs. That's excellent advice indeed. You now have one rank in a disposition reputation. These reputations represent how people perceive your personality throughout the world. Even seemingly nasty reputation will be favored by some people, and benign reputations often bring out the worst in certain people. No disposition is inherently good or bad in Pillars of Eternity. But if your main character is a priest or paladin, you must be careful not to misalign their dispositions with what is favored by their deity and order. Respectively, for the main character only, their dispositions will modify the effects of holy radiance for priests, and faith and conviction for paladins.
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
Nasus speaks. Tell me about the Idear Empire.
It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here, but the colonies used to include Raedceres and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire, a fact our companions are quick to remind me of.
Heodan gives you a lopsided grin and nods at the other scattered caravanners. According to the character creation, the description of Raedceres is it's to the north of Deerwood, and there was a event called Saints' War or something like that. And what else? Yeah, I think in some of the descriptions, so the character creation has many terms that were highlighted, and if you access the highlights, there is a description to that terms. So I think I remember that there's something happened in Raedceres concerning something called the Saints' War, and then the God Hammer Bomb. And if you read the description of the fire godlike, it is said that it's connected to a goddess named Magran, and Magran is said to have blessed the God Hammer Bomb. Nasu speaks. Why'd you move all the way out here?
Because it seemed friendlier than Raedceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Why not stay at home, help your brothers with your family business? Even though there's not enough to do, isn't it better to help your family's business and be near your family? But of course, that is not what you want. You want to travel and expand. I see. Heodan shrugs. Deerwood is a former Idear colony, so it seemed like a good place to start, and as much as I admire the Raedcerans work ethic, they've always struck me as a little fanatical. Okay, so the favored disposition for Paladin of the Goldpack Knights is rational and stoic. Nasu speaks. Seems like you got the short end of the stick. Heodan speaks. I don't see it that way. He begins restacking the crates in his wagon. He continues. My brothers and I are all working together for the sake of the family enterprise. I see. Nasu speaks, let's see what you've got. Stores allow you to trade and sell your items for copper pieces, or items in the store's inventory. Merchants buy items from you at a greatly reduced price. If you sell something, you may see it appear in the store's inventory with a much higher cost. Stores periodically refresh their inventories. Okay. Lockpick.
Something else you need? Looks like we're settled for the night.
Nasu speaks, I'd better go. Okay. Horse. You have gained an item, ingredients, Orlan's Cradle. The fallen tree doesn't budge. Sap oozes from the jagged
Not
wound.
looking forward to trying to lift that thing tomorrow.
Sap oozes from the jagged wound in its trunk. Okay, Kalisha. Exploration is key in Pillars of Eternity. As you make your way through the Eastern Reach, open the area map to see what parts of the map you've already been to and what's left to explore.
I'll have your water soon enough. Stream's not going anywhere. There's a grove nearby. Ought to have what you're looking for. There's a grove nearby. Ought to have what you're looking for.
Atmath's Word. Ingredients. This path winds through a narrow canyon, back the way you
We
came.
shouldn't stray too far.
Grooves in the road mark the passage of hundreds of caravan. Marks the passage of hundreds of caravan. A common route, then?
Let's check by those outcrop.
Fireflies.
Let's check by those out.
So, I changed my mind. I want to play as an Orlan. So I restart and recreate the character. His name is Aris Mittal. He's from the Examital Plains. His background is an aristocrat. Let me check on my mic. My mic is working fine. The recording is also fine. Let's continue. Pillars Pillars of Eternity combat uses a possible real-time system, because you will often manage more than one character at a time. It's a good idea to pause the game, issue orders, and resume real-time to see the orders play out. The options menu also contains many choices for automatic pausing when certain conditions are met, e.g. the start of combat. When a party member takes damage, they will start to lose endurance and health. Their portrait will begin to fill with a red overlay, and the health bar to the left of their portrait will slowly start to decrease. When the portrait fills entirely red, the character will be knocked out. Potions and spells can be used to restore endurance to keep characters in the fight, but health can only be restored by resting. One of your characters has been engaged in melee. When characters are engaged, they immediately stop moving. If they move again, they will provoke a disengagement attack from the enemies engaging them. Your characters will also automatically engage enemies when they initiate attacks against them with melee. Weapons. Wolf hide. The wolves of the deerwood are a large and crafty breed, bereft of the species' usual shyness, and they present a serious hazard to travelers who venture off the beaten path. Hunters who seek them out will not usually contend with a single wolf, for they travel in packs of varying size, presenting a challenge to any lone hunter. Their furry hides are valued for the warmth they can provide, and the teeth of the strongest wolves make for impressive trophies.
Indeed.
Look at this. A deer, a stag, a moose, I'm not sure. But look at how the body is savagely torn apart. It matches with the description of the wolf hide. The wolf breed here is different than the other wolves.
This is it.
Kalisha says, "You're the one who's supposed to be from some big shot noble family. Is that true?" Aris Mittal says, "That's right. Royal blood runs through my veins." Kalisha says, "Yeah? How is it you happen to come here?" Aris Mittal says, I don't want to rule. Kalisha says, well, we've all got things we'd like to leave behind. Gods know I do. I'll tell you that. Here's hoping they never track us down. Kalisha breathes in her surroundings. Been a long time since I've been this way, but I always did like it. Lord Rydrick's offer makes a girl think. I'll give him that. You here to settle, like the rest of the lords? Aris Mittal says. I hadn't given it much thought. Kalisha says no harm in that. Might as well see the place first. So you must have some other plan in mind for coming this way. Morabor. Aris Mittal says, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. Kalisha says, completely spontaneous, huh? Interesting. Well, there's probably no hurry to make up your mind. They've got an inn in Gilded Vale. They will put you up as long as you need, or so my sister tells me. Anyway, I'm wasting time here. Odema will give me an earful. Let's be on our way. Aris Mittal says, why are you here? Kalisha sighs unevenly. Her eyes search the ground at her feet. My sister moved out here some time back. She sent me a letter. She seemed worried. Sorry, I pressed the button to proceed. I will repeat the conversation. Kalisha sighs unevenly. Her eyes search the ground at her feet. My sister moved out here some time back. She sent me a letter. She seemed worried, but that's how she always is. This time though, she asked me to come out, and that's got me a little worried. I haven't seen her in ages. Been doing God work in Examital. But I'd do anything for her. She's, well, she's a much better woman than me. So I'm here and we'll see. So, Kalisha have been doing God work in Examital. That's where Arismital was from, or is from. I not sure how to create the correct grammar. Kalisha says, Odema I've worked with before. He doesn't usually drive a route this way, but he's doing it for me. So, why is Odema doing it for Kalisha? Are they close? Are they best friends? Aris Mittal says, tell me about yourself. Kalisha says, I've got simple needs. I like open skies and far horizons. I find work that lets me live that way. My family wanders too. We started in Deerwood, but my parents ended up in the Living Lands. I've got a brother in Rawatai and another in Idear. My sister in Gilded Vale. She's the only real homebody. So, 3 siblings, 2 brothers, and 1 sister, and parents in the Living Lands. I see. Morabor says, what can you tell me about Deerwood? Kalisha says, I'm not much for history, but from what I know, it used to be part of the Idear Empire. Broke off after a war some years back. The locals here are feisty, and that's how they like it. I've been out of touch, but I've been hearing weird kinds of things about it lately. People having trouble giving birth, I guess. A lot of them. Been going on for years now, but somehow it's getting worse. With an uneasy tremor in her voice, she adds, I'll have to ask my sister more about it. Arismita says, Alright, let's get back to camp. Kalisha says, You know, I wouldn't hold my breath that Sparfel's getting you water anytime soon. He does what he feels like when he feels like it. We should check up on him first. Slap him around a little. Stream's just down that way. Come on, let's get you your water. Sparfel's missing. I've seen two lamps so far. Somebody is maintaining these lamps. Odema's group, the previous travelers, or someone else. He's a Bambi. Kalisha says travelers maybe, or looters, or bandits. That's sign any way you figure it. I don't see the Bambi anywhere. Where is the Bambi? The corpse is cold to the touch, and a ripe smell wafts from it in putrid waves. A dark crusted blood stain besmirches its simple linen clothing. There are two corpses here, and one skeleton, and I think on the back of the skeleton are arrows. Looks like arrows.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting. At least he left the water skins. Come on.
You crouch at the riverbank and dip your water skin into the cool water while Kalisha waits nearby, keeping watch. As you rise, you notice her look up sharply towards the tree line. Out of the trees emerges Parfel, one of the guides, barely discernible in the dim moonlight. He no longer carries his bow, and there is a strangeness to his gait. His stride wobbly as he moves toward you with labored breath.
Sparfle? Are you alright?
Sparfel's toe catches on a rock, and he collapses forward in a heap, the feathered shaft of an arrow planted between his shoulders, like an enemy flag. Someone shot Sparfel with an arrow. From his back.
Ambush! Come on, we have to get back to camp.
Beer. While foreigners have much kind to say about the beer in the Deerwood, where locals prefer to indulge in narcotics, beer is still a staple of every inn, home, and drunken feud. The footprints around the campfire are indistinct and may have been here for days or longer. Whose campfire does this belong to, I wonder? The two corpses I came across? On the other side of the river, perhaps? Poor Sparfell. I don't know him enough to shed tears, but it's not a good feeling to lose a member of your traveling company. What a shame.
They'll pick us off out here. We need to get to camp.
The horses are gone. Dang it. Glanfathan leader, all around you lie the massacred remains of the other travelers, peppered with arrows and knife hilts, splayed and bug-eyed and filthy. Kalisha puts the back of her left hand to her mouth, as if to ward away some poisonous vapor. A handful of dark figures stands above the fallen, treading on limbs and backs and heads, jerking their axes from the bodies as if from half-split logs. One of them, towering and severe with a thick beard tasseled with knots, holds a wet blade at the neck of the man you recognize as Heodan, the last of your caravan left standing. Glanfathan leader says, "Lay down your arms, trespasser. Do not forfeit this man's life for a fight you will lose." Arismital says, "Why have you done this?" Glanfathan leader says, "You have trespassed in places of which no mortal man is worthy. You are trespassers and plunderers all, and we will see this outrage avenged. So I say again, lay down your arms." Heodan says, "Don't trust them, they mean to kill us all." Arismital says, "We are innocent in this. Will you not listen to reason?" Glanfathan leader says, "We know the ruin has been entered. We have seen the footsteps, heard the echoes. Now you must answer to the gods." Intellect 15. Arismital says, "Judging by the string of animal teeth around your neck, I am guessing you are worshippers of Galawain. If Galawain told you to stop protecting the ruins, would you?" Glanfathan leader. The man frowns and motions as if to swing his axe. Heodan winces, but the blow never comes. Instead, the man cocks his head, intrigued. "Of course, but he would not. It is by the command of all the gods that we accept this charge." Arismital says, "How do you know? Because it's consistent with their beliefs or because it's what you were told?" Glanfathan leader glares. "It has always been known to my people." Arismital says, "I see. And what of Galawain's edict? That weakness and age must be purged by youth and strength. You think Galawain would want some moldy crumbling stones to survive long after their builders have turned to dust?" Glanfathan leader's nostrils flare as he fumes. "He would not, he told us otherwise." Arismital says, "I'm sure he did, just not you personally. But why should that stop you from killing innocents?" Distracted, Glanfathan leader's grip falters on his axe handle, and he nearly fumbles it, affording Heodan the moment he needs to dodge out of his swing, which comes too late. Howling with rage, the man charges you instead. Glanfathan leader lies supine on the ground, unable to rise. His companions now silent among the other dead. His breath comes in wheezing, fitful gasps. He looks not at you but at the sky above you. Forgive us. Barely audible beneath his choked sighs, a whisper of wind stirs the air. At this, the man's eyes roll back as he closes them. Good, good, the gods are just. A queer smile crosses his face. I am ready. The wind begins to swell, whipping around the camp, electric and volatile, upending pots and rattling tents like an angry spirit. You can feel it begin to seep beneath your skin, and where it pierces you, it feels as though it is rending you apart from within. Caravan Master Odema, seated against a wagon wheel amidst the howling maelstrom. Slash across chest and bowel, Odema's body stirs, and with great effort he raises his sagging head. His eyes barely open. He looks directly at you.
Get inside! Run!
Straining against a gale that threatens to pull you off your feet with every step. You set your hands in the worn folds of weathered rock and set about pulling yourself up the precipice. With the last burst of energy before your arms give out, you swing yourself up onto the ledge. I'm playing as an Orlan. Why is the depiction is not an Orlan? I think it's a human. Heodan trails behind, slowed by injury and delayed by early hesitation. As he nears the face of the rocks, one of the fallen attackers who had been feigning death lunges for Heodan and topples him onto the rocky ground. Restrained, Heodan lashes out against his fatigued assailant, but struggles to break his hold. They are close to you from your position. You would have a good chance at hitting your mark. Heodan's portrait shows that Heodan is not a bearded man. But why is the illustration in this picture depicts Heodan as a bearded man? Fire at the attacker. Your aim is true and the hit jars Heodan loose. Lurching to his feet, Heodan clambers up the base of the rocks. As he nears the top, however, the wind flares, pulling him sideways and tearing one of his hands free. But diving out onto the hard rock, you manage to catch hold of it, securing his other hand. You pull with waning strength, and it feels as though your arms will be jerked from their sockets. They hold you just long enough for Heodan to set his feet and join you on the trembling ledge. There is a deep resonance to the swelling wind now. You feel it in the rocks beneath your feet and inside the cavity of your own chest, as though it would shake the marrow from your bones. Each new gust menaces the old stones before you, loosening connections, unsettling balances. As you dart beneath the old archway, the entire portal begins to fall beneath its own weight.
Was that?
A Bewick. Had to be.
Eodan's words come between wheezing gasps.
Then we're lucky to be alive.
And we're the only ones.
Eodan, we are the only ones because we did not took the time to carry Odema with us. Odema was still alive, and we left him to die outside. We should have carried him with us. Why did not we do it?
We can't stay here. There could be another collapse. We're not getting out that way anyway. Let's get further inside.
See, Heodan's portrait is not bearded, but the illustration earlier shows him as a bearded man. A lower level of the ruins has been blocked off by fallen rubble.
That should be far enough. But what now?
Eodan's chest rises and falls visibly with each breath.
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
Arismito says what happened out there. Kalisha shakes her head. Windstorm of a kind they only get in Air Glanfath. Not too many people live through them, so it's hard to know what's true. The Glanfathan word is be awake. To them it's the gods' way of reaping the souls of the land that couldn't find their own way out. But they'll take a living soul as soon as a dead one. Still got yours? Arismital says, who attacked us. Aris, why would you ask this question? You addressed them as worshippers of Galawine, so you knew who they are. Why are you asking this question to Kalisha? Kalisha says Glanfathans. Those would be the hut dwellers Odema warned you about. Look to be fangs of Galawine, who are the twitchiest of the lot. They go ruin to ruin looking for fights with colonists. Poor Odema, I think he half expected this once we lost the main road. Arismital says, the Glanfathan said we trespass in the ruins. Kalisha says I don't believe that. Odema would never allow it. But as much as the Fangs are hotheads, Glanfathans don't attack without being provoked. Either they saw something and got the wrong idea, or she glances down the passage beyond, or there's looters in here with us. That's not something we need right now. Aris Mittal says, what about everyone else in our caravan? Kalisha's lips press together and her chin rumples, her voice is faint. The wheels got hold of them now, she looks up. Gods grant them better luck in their next lives. Aris Mittal says, you don't seem too upset about all this. Kalisha looks you in the eye, a volatile current running beneath her voice. Maybe you just don't know me enough to know what upset looks like. And maybe I've seen worse too. Seen worse and kept on walking. Cause there's nothing else to be done. And cause there's other people you care about who still need you. Aris Mittal says, let's get going.
Wonder who was here. See if they left anything useful behind.
You've discovered some camping supplies. You can use these to rest in the wilderness or dungeons, fully restoring all of your character's abilities and health. Easy difficulty allows you carry more camping supplies, but hard restricts them severely. If you fully run out of camping supplies, try to find an inn. Most have cheap rooms available. A trembling, sickly creature emerges from the dark, clutching a spear. Knobby elbows and thin ribs show through its scaly flesh. But you recognize it as a Zaurip. It watches you cautiously, breathing in ragged sighs. Aris Mittal says, it's okay, I won't hurt you. The Zaurip recoils, fingers still wrapped tightly around its spear. The creature cocks its head and approaches you, a soft clicking sound emanating from the back of its throat. The creature sniffs around you and finds nothing of interest. It steps back and resumes its defensive posture. Aris Mittal says, raise your arms and stand still. Sorry, I'm mistaken. Arismetal raises his arms and stands still. The creature cocks its head and approaches you, a soft clicking sound emanating from the back of its throat. The creature sniffs around you and finds nothing of interest. It steps back and resumes its defensive posture. Arismetal slowly backs away. The Zaurib watches warily as you go. It was a speak icon. Now it turns into a combat. And with a relief gem. This brilliant blue gem has been sculpted to look like an eye. You have gained an item, quest, and with a relief gem added to the stash. Tattered journal. This small folio is torn in several places, and blood has soaked into several of the sheets. One later entry is still eligible, however. I cannot believe my luck. A few rounds of dice and I've got my hands on a genuine Engwithan artifact. Fellow who had it said it was a pretty nothing. As far as he's concerned, he's not willing to go digging in some ruins. But if he's right about this gem leading to a hidden treasure, then that's worth sneaking past a few painted elves. I'll head to Sealand Lease in the morning. Then it's just a matter of finding this relief he was talking about.
Wait, do you hear that? That looks weak. Could be a shortcut.
A crack runs along this wall from floor to ceiling. A light gust of air passes through it. Push on the wall. Despite the damage, the stone looks heavy and solid. Push on it yourself. You push with all your might and the crack begins to spread. Finally, you feel the ancient masonry give way. The wall crashes down, revealing a circular room ahead.
I could scout ahead, see what's around the corner.
Fresh air in here. I think we found an exit. Sounds like the storm passed, too. Hmm?
How can I help?
Hmm?
Tiles look suspicious. Let's be careful.
Kalisha says those tiles look suspicious. Let's be careful. Yes.
just like the tiles.
A symbol of a patterned circle is inscribed on this pillar. An unlit brazier sits at its base. It could be lit if you had the means. Use the torch to light the brazier. Flames kindle swiftly in the brazier, winding their way upwards. All flames lit. Nothing happens. This mural must be ancient, yet the colors are still bright and vivid. It shows a procession of Engwithan from all the Kith races. Aumaua, Elf, Orlan, Dwarf, and Human. They walk among pillars similar to the ones that span this chamber, each one topped with a flame.
Where'd that slime come from?
Viscous and oily, this muck clings to anything it touches. A viscous lick of something dark and tar-like runs down this wall. The shapes and bulges in the ooze suggest that something lies beneath it, but you cannot tell what. Use your water skin to clear off the ooze. You rinse the ooze away, revealing an intricate relief of a man's face. The sunburn surrounding it has chipped away in places, but the details of his head, from the tight curls of hair to the ridges of his pointed ears, still showcase remarkable craftsmanship. One eye socket is empty, a gem fills the other. You have lost an item full water skin. So, pointed ears, elves, place the gem in the eye socket. The chamber begins to rumble, stray rocks dancing across the tile floor. Finally, a large section of the wall gives way. You have lost an item and with an relief gem. Amethyst can be found in a variety of shades, but those of darkest purple are considered to be the most valuable. Discovery of new sources has become commonplace in the past few hundred years, and amethyst no longer fetches the same value it once did. Adra, an organic material crystalline in structure but shell-like in substance. Adra can be found growing up through the ground in veins in many parts of Eora. Easy to carve and manipulate, it is a favorite of jewelers as a semi-precious stone, and is often cut more intricately and beautifully than other gems. Odema mentioned that the rocks growing from the ground are called Adra. He also mentioned about the soul butchers. Spear spiders have long tapering front limbs, ending in a sharp point, which they use to impale their prey. This leg is covered in small backward-facing barbs. Spear spider leg. Bats as large as chickens are strung in the web. Bloodstone is traditionally dark stone, often a deep green, but the presence of pockets of iron or red jasper resembling blood spatter give the stone its name, as well as its value. Jasper is found in the wild as dull mottled stone, frequently in red or green but often with a variety of colors lent by other surrounding minerals. While relatively easy to find polished, the stone's distinctive swirls of color give it endless variety. Agates are common on Eora, oft used by craftsmen for their bright colors. Their considerable hardness also lends them a variety of more practical applications. Older robed man. Four figures stand before an otherworldly apparatus, an ancient structure of chiseled adra and metallic veins, ominous and looming like a silent observer. Standing motionless in their midst is what appears to be a human body, colorless as stone or ash. The other figures gaze upon it in what might be contemplation. From your vantage point, you are well obscured from their view. The figure closest to the machine and stands out among them. A thick grey beard frames a face otherwise hidden beneath a metallic mask. His faded robes are embroidered with a runic language unlike anything you have ever seen, and he wears a strange black headdress with two protrusions that jut out like the wings of some malevolent creature.
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book.
Older robed man addresses the petrified body. So, queen that was, life by the key, death by the key. Walk free of the crushing weight of the book.
Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth, and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
Older robed man passes his gaze over the others standing around him. He looks each in the eye in turn. For an instant, the apparatus goes quiet and the air is still. Then all at once it erupts with a concussive surge. Light floods your vision and you are knocked to the ground. Your head snaps back as you land and pain wells into the back of your skull, washing your last thoughts away into the black unconscious void. You open your eyes to a different place, another time. You stand in a circular room, grand and domed. Its walls lined with adra and trimmed with copper. The style is ancient, but the chamber is unweathered. At the far end, a great pillar of adra pierces the floor from below, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Encircling the pillar is an apparatus much like the one you have just seen, but immense and multifaceted and intertwined. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they seem to exist before you think of them, and they are all questions, pressing questions, troubling questions, questions that must be answered or... At the base of the pillar now you see a man with a thick grey beard and ceremonial robe, crowned with a strange ornamental headdress. You know this man. You are walking towards him now at a pace that is hurried while trying not to appear so. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all, and the question spins madly in your mind. So this man is similar to the man that was depicted earlier. Interesting. You awaken to find your melee has broken, only to be replaced with something far more concerning. Faint whispers are audible at the edge of your hearing, like a ringing in your ears that does not subside. Movement fleets through your periphery, but when you turn to look, you can see no sign of whatever it was. You find your gaze regularly darting this way and that, an involuntary paranoid tic. If this is a sickness, it may be dangerous to go without treatment for long. One of your character has become fatigued. Fatigue represents the physical and psychological wear and tear of demanding activity on a character. It is mostly commonly received as an injury when a character is knocked out, but some scripted interactions will also result in fatigue if they are especially grueling. Fatigue goes through multiple stages. Initially, inflicting minor penalties but growing in. Okay, let me continue the narration. The figures at the machine stand frozen in place, flesh and blood replaced by cinders and ash. The man who led them is nowhere to be seen. Okay. Heodan and Kalisha lie bloody on the uneven cobbles, their bodies twisted unnaturally in death. After all we've been through, the attack on the camp, the ruins, and now they are dead. Heodan and Kalisha. This is disheartening, sad. You are alone and far from help. Gilded Veil may be your best hope of receiving treatment before things get worse. Your character has earned enough experience to advance a level. Click the icon on their portrait to level them up. Resting is the easiest way to remove the effects of fatigue, though some consumables can also remove fatigue. So resting it is. I just looted Heodan and Kalisha's body and now they're naked. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. I'm sorry Heodan, I'm sorry Kalisha. Camping allows your party members to restore lost health and receive a camping bonus. Camping will consume a camping supply.
Stealth allows characters of any class to attempt to avoid being seen or heard. It is used automatically whenever the character is in scouting mode. The higher the character's skill, the closer they can get to enemies before being detected. Athletics. Adventuring is tiring work. In addition to the hazards of mortal combat, adventurers have walls to climb, rivers to cross, and pits to leap over. Once per encounter, characters with athletics can use the second wind ability to recover lost endurance. A higher athletics score increases the effects of second wind. In conversations and scripted interactions, athletics is used for physical feats like climbing, swimming, and jumping. Lore represents a character's accumulated miscellaneous knowledge and trivia, often of occult or esoteric topics. Outside of conversations and scripted interactions, lore is used to activate scrolls. Higher lore values allows the character to use higher level scrolls. Mechanics. Traps and locks can be a problem for even the toughest adventurers, draining their resources and maiming or killing those who are unfortunate enough to trigger an unseen floor plate. The mechanic skill makes it easier to open locks and find and disable traps. Additionally, any character can use the mechanic skill to place traps of their own. The higher the mechanic skill, the more accurate the trap. In conversations and scripted interactions, mechanics can be used to activate or disable a variety of machines. Survival allows characters to choose from a variety of long-term bonuses each time they camp. The first 6 ranks grant the following bonuses: damage reduction, received healing multiplier, bonus movement, accuracy bonus versus creature type, increased consumable duration, bonus damage versus flanked enemies. After the 6th rank, the previously earned bonuses become more powerful in the same order they were received. Survival can also be used in conversations and scripted interactions that involve wilderness, challenges, or specialized information about nature. Looks like a person on a device. Looks like a torture device. Might it be a device to rip a person's apart in half, separating the top and the bottom? From the clothing, it looks like a woman. Maybe, I'm not sure.
looks like a person tied on a stake on top of a pile of wood. Is he going to be burned alive? It seems so. This massive structure is formed of stone, adra and copper, and covered in strange glyphs. The air around it vibrates with an unusual energy. Sealant Lease, Vale Wood. It will take you 6 hours to complete your journey from Sealant Lease to Vale Wood. Camping supplies. In amongst these supplies are bedrolls, blankets, rations, and other amenities intended to keep hardy explorers from succumbing to the elements. I see a silhouette of a person walking just now, towards the south of the screen. Now I see a silhouette of a person running, crossing the shallow river. There's a corpse here, but I cannot interact with it. Another lamp in the middle of nowhere. Someone or some people must have maintained these lamps. Maybe there is an unwritten agreement that passing travelers will light up the lamps if they are not lighted up. Perhaps. Silver fanning. This large silver coin is used for large transactions in the Idear Empire and many of their colonial territories. Tenfrith says, and a touch more salt. Bandit says, how long it's take to make some dang stew. Tenfrith says, don't rush me. You have to let the meat absorb the flavor. Bandit says, you'll be absorbing the sharp end of my dagger if you don't hurry it up. Oh, banditos. Tenfrith, the young dwarf tending to the stew, looks up, startled. As he sees you approach, he drops his ladle, spattering stew across the ground. Bandit says, what? The bandit turns. Get him, you dogs, and make sure our new cook don't run off. Tenfrith says, help, please, help me, ugh. One of the bandits gives Tenfrith a kick as they pass him, and he huddles. So these bandits are minis. The tent is empty but for a pair of stained cots and the stink of unwashed bodies. Disgusting.
Welcome!
Tenfrith says, by the flame, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I thought I'd be stuck cooking for the ignorant weasels for the rest of my life, or until they were bored with me, I suppose. I must get back home. I only hope they haven't hired a replacement. The dwarf looks aghast. Listen, next time you're in Gilded Vale, stop by the Black Hound Inn. I'll let Pasca knows just what you've done for me. And I'm sure she'll do right by you in turn. Oh, to be back at my oven again. Gilded Vale, major positive HIV. Wait, Tenfrith, don't go. I'm headed to Gilded Vale as well. Okay, he's gone. Banditos camp. These aged walls appear to have once encircled this entire glade. Only a small fragment remains, and the stairs leading to the top of the structure have crumbled away. Examine the wall more closely. The heavy bricks are slick with moss, presenting a hindrance to climbing, but the stones themselves seem sturdy enough. Given the right tools, one might easily reach the top. Scale the wall. You find a handhold upon one of the large stones and start to pull yourself up. You make your way steadily up the crumbling ruin and over the top. Fulvano's gloves. Though never as famous, he would claim the Vailian explorer Fulvano was known as an eccentric who wished to see the world. Where possible, he traveled by foot to gain a local's appreciation for the sights, sounds, and smells of the lands he passed through. In practice, however, Fulvano often claimed that his exploration proved only that the world outside of the Vailian republics was a foul, smelly place and that paled in comparison to his homeland. These gloves are said to have belonged to Fulvano, who often found himself in need of some protection as he climbed harsh terrain or maneuvered through forests. While thick enough to provide some warmth, they are meant first and foremost to be flexible enough not to hinder a delicate task. Scrawled letter. I do not think you will ever see this, but you were right, Fulvano. We should have journeyed south together and been safer for it. I would tolerate all the gloating in the world if I might live to hear it. I have put myself out of reach of the beasts circling below, but I am done for all the same. I do not think I will rise again. Whoever finds this, pray for me. Perhaps in the next life I shall be a trapper of wolves. So this corpse is not Fulvano. It is in the possession of Fulvano's gloves, though. And this letter is intended for Fulvano. From the edge of the wall you can see an old cobblestone road running south, turning south, and the patchy trees of the Vale Wood. Climb down. You swing yourself over the side and pick your way back down to ground level. Ruins. Nonton says, dang thing, come on.
Good day, stranger.
Nonton. This man appears to be hurriedly dismantling his camp in quick, jerky movements. He looks up as you approach, his expression tense and drawn. Greetings, he says, a little breathless. On your way south, is it? Nonton says, don't see too many of your sort along this road, meaning no offense. Suppose you're heading into town? Nonton wipes his brow, turning to face you. The sooner you're clear of these woods, the better, I think. Aris Mittal says, our caravan was attacked. I've been trying to get to Gilded Vale. Nonton says, hard luck, and I'm sorry to hear it. You should be fine from here. There is no missing the Vale if you keep to the road, and you haven't far to walk. But you'll want to keep clear of this place after that. We were just attacked, north of here. Me and a friend of mine. We came out here to hunt some deer. Came up on a bear instead. Great monstrous thing, and barely. He didn't make it. Nonton shakes his head. I don't know what I'll tell his wife. In any case, this forest already cost me a friend. I'm heading home before it takes anything else. Aris Mittal says, who are you? Nonton says, name's Nonton, born and raised in Gilded Vale. Haven't had a spot of luck since. His face twists. Luckier than Perly, I suppose. In any case, this forest already cost me a friend. I'm heading home before it takes anything else. Aris Mittal says, what happened to your friend? Nonton says, we didn't see it coming. Nonton's voice shakes a little as he speaks. We were following a stag. Fairly, he saw something in the brambles and we went tearing off after it. We all but stumbled into the cave. Poor Perley didn't stand a chance. The bear was on top of him before we knew what was happening. The beasts will take what they will, I suppose. He smiled sadly, and this time Galawain's favor fell upon the bear. Aris Mittal says, Where did you find this bear? Nonton says, in a cave, a ways up that way. He turns to point to the northwest. I wouldn't seek it out if I were you. It was a great brute of a beast. Would hate to hear that it took another life. Arismital says, farewell.
Welcome.
Nonton gives you a curt nod. I'm just getting my things together and I'll be out of here soon enough. Anything else you wanted? Northwest to Geran's Grasp, south to Gilded Vale. Silver Luche, the most common Vailian coin found in the Deerwood, is the silver luche, or fish, so named for its resemblance to the scales of a fish. The grass is still flattened behind the wagon's wheels. Barrels of cabbages, potatoes, and squash have been overturned and abandoned. Perhaps a victim of the banditos. Shattered pieces of a crate are strewn across the dirt, along with a few muddy vegetables. Again, must be victim of the banditos. Small waterfall. Looks very good to take a shower beneath it. Zaurip tongue. The rounded, dry tongue of a Zaurip. Why would you take a Zaurip's tongue? The struts and supports are large enough to be the ribs and vertebrae of a dragon. So this camp is under attack by the Zaurip. I see only one corpse though. Zaurip camp. This is a Zaurip camp. So what is this non-Zaurip corpse doing here? A failed assault? Or a corpse that was dragged here by the Zaurips? Bear Cave. Okay, I'm running out of time. I have to cut here.